Evening. Today I'm going to take the business statistics subject. Business statistics means business statistics 2 for fourth semester of second BCom. And in this business statistics 2, we'll have 5 chapters, 5 units. 5 units. Okay, the first one is regression analysis. The second one is index numbers. Third one is analysis of time series. Fourth one is probability. And fifth one is, okay, and fifth one is theoretical distributions. This is about the various syllabus that we come across when we go for business statistics too. Okay, now regression analysis. What is this regression analysis? In business statistics 2, 1, we'll have correlation analysis. Correlation analysis is nothing but taking the variations of two variables and making them to relate together is nothing but correlation analysis. And after correlation analysis, we'll have the regression analysis. In this regression analysis, we'll have the average relationship. We'll come across the average relationship between two variables. And when we go for the straight line, okay, when we want to go for a straight line, we have to take into account two variables, x variable and y variable. And you can keep any name for this, but generally people, they'll go for x and y. So these variables, they'll differ with one another. So when they differ one another, making them to come together at one place is nothing but correlation. Okay, and regression is nothing but an advancement in this relationship. Regression analysis, it will take into account the average relationship between two variables, that is x variable and y variable. And these two variables, they are one way dependent and one way they are independent. That is, sometimes x variable will act as an independent variable, and then y variable will be the dependent variable. Sometimes y will become an independent variable and x will become a dependent variable. This is how you will come across in regression analysis. Okay. Regression analysis reveals average relationship between two variables, and this makes possible estimation or prediction. Okay, average relationship. Okay, there is a lot of difference between relationship and average relationship. You will come across relationships, but average relationship is that relationship which represents the complete thing. When we go for business statistics 1, we'll come across measures of central tendency. In this measures of central tendency, we'll come across so much data. So this data, okay, if you want to reveal and if you want to show, it will become a cumbersome job. So that's why what they will do is, they will ask the people to, they will ask about the representative value. They represent the average representative value or average value. Okay. So this thing you must take into account. This thing you must take into account. So this average relationship, it will help us in finding out the estimation or prediction. That is nothing but regression analysis. Okay. The dictionary meaning of the term regression analysis is the act of returning or going back. So when you take into account the regression analysis, okay, the dictionary meaning is nothing but going back or returning back. But there, here mean the dictionary meaning is like that, and the real meaning when we go for the subject, it is different. It is returning back means one variable when it is going in a fastest manner, we should not allow that variable to go in that manner. We have to ask that variable, or we have to bring that variable, okay, to the position where the other variable is. Okay, this is nothing but the regression analysis that we come across. Okay, and the term regression was first introduced by Sir Francis Galton in the year 1877. Okay, this gentleman, Sir Francis Galton, in the year 1877, he introduced this term regression. Okay, the line describing the tendency to regress or going back was called by Galton's was called by Galton a regression line. So it's serious. The line describing the tendency to regress or going back or coming back or returning back is termed as regression line by Galton. It is still used to describe that line drawn for a group of points to represent the trend present, but it no longer carries the original implication of stepping back. You see, this regression line, when we are going for, it will always concentrate to take into account the trend, the change, but it won't take into account the stepping back. So that is nothing but regression line. Okay, given by Galton, okay, as regression line. Definitions. What are the definitions that we come across regarding regression analysis? One definition is regression is the measure of the average relationship between two or more variables in terms of the original units of the data. See, the data will be different, but it will take into account two variables, and among the two variables, it will take into account the average relationship. That is nothing but regression analysis, according to one definition. The second definition is regression analysis refers to the methods by which estimates are made of the values of a variable from a knowledge of the values of one or more other variables. Okay, and to the measurement of the errors involved in this estimation process. Now, we'll take into account the estimation or prediction. And what are the errors that we come across in this estimation or prediction? It will help us in locating that. So that is nothing but regression analysis according to some people. Now, another definition is one of the most frequently used techniques in economics and business research to find out a relationship between two or more variables that are related casually in regression analysis. When you take into account the economics and the management, okay, people, they should not go fast. They should not go forward. When they want to go forward, they have to look after the past. So bringing back or returning back to the original stage or the past stage, okay, that is known as regression analysis. Okay, for economics, okay, calculation of price is different because taking into account the demand and supply forces, the price will be determined. But you cannot go forward because whatever it may be, the forces, due to some other factors also, the forces of demand and supply, they will intersect with each other. In that case, okay, we should not blame demand and supply, because the other factors, they will influence the demand and supply forces to interact with each other. So we should not take into account those forces, other forces. We have to take into account the demand and supply forces where they are naturally interact with each other. So in that case, you have to go back and you have to see. That's why, okay, people, they'll say in our main language or in our general, when you want to go future, when you want to think about future, you have to take into account the past and the present. Then only you can be able to predict for future. So past things we have to take into account, and we have to compare the past things with the present things. Then only we can able to do the future prediction. Otherwise we cannot. And in management also, people, they should not blindly go for the estimation of profitability, budgets, and future courses of action. They should not take into account, because they have to take into account what is the present position and what is the past position. Then only they can calculate, and then only they can predict or estimate for the future. So regression analysis is the only one measure or technique that will bring back all the people to the present and the past. Okay, basing on the past and present only, they can able to predict for future. This is about the regression analysis. And when we go for regression analysis, we'll come across two important things. Okay, two important things. That thing is two variables. Okay, and these two variables we can name in any way, but generally speaking, they will be called as X variable and Y variable. And we cannot say that only one this thing will be constant. Okay, there will be change. There will be change. Okay, sometimes X will become an independent variable and Y will become the dependent variable. And sometimes Y will become the independent variable and X will become the dependent variable. So you cannot say that one variable will be a constant and when the other will be the dependent one. Okay, so if you take into account a small example in this, if you take into account a small family, okay, the father is an independent person and the wife, the children are the dependent people. Okay, I suppose that you understood this. And suppose when father, when he is unable to do anything, then wife will become the independent person and the father and the children, they have to depend upon her. Here, there is no controversy and the contrary to go for this independency and dependency. One will become the dependent and when the other will become the dependent and one will become the independent. So in the same way, the X variable and Y variable also, they are two different. At one time, X becomes independent, then Y automatically will become the dependent. Sometimes if Y becomes independent, then X will become dependent. So these are the two things that we come across and we have to study these two things. It is clear from the above definitions that regression analysis is a statistical device with the help of which we are in a position to estimate the unknown values of one variable from known values of another variable. If you know the values of one variable, automatically you can be in a position to know the values of the other variable. And these variables, they may be anything. If one becomes dependent, another becomes independent. If one becomes independent, another becomes dependent. Like this, you'll come across in regression analysis. The variable which is used to predict the values of interest is called the independent variable or explanatory variable. Okay, so instead of going for independent, we can use explanatory. Okay, if one variable becomes explanatory, the other variable will be explained. So there is a lot of difference between explanatory variable and explained variable. Okay, explanatory, which will explain, this is the value, this is the value, these are the values that we come across. When we come across like this, the values, different values, the other values will be like this. So it will be known as explanatory variable. Okay. The variable we are trying to predict is called the dependent variable or explained variable. Okay, we'll call that thing as explained variable. In any way you can call this. Okay, just 1 second. Just 1 second. Yeah. Now I can go. Okay. Explanatory and explained. That is, independent variable, it will become the explanatory. It will, because it will explain that these are the values, these are the values. To whom? To the dependent variable or explained variable. You should not go in your own way. You should not go in your own style. You have to go in this way. These are the values. Okay, these are the values. Like that, the explanatory variable it will tell. Okay. The independent variable is denoted by X and the dependent variable is denoted by Y. Okay. Okay. The independent variable is denoted by X and the independent variable by Y. The analysis used is called the simple linear regression analysis. Okay, see, when we are going for unknown things from known things, we'll call that the process as regression analysis. And it is very, very simple. One thing you have to keep in mind is that it's very, very simple. But thing is, concentration must be there. When you are going for regression analysis, once again, 1 to 2 times or 10 times, I'm telling you this fact that you must be very patient. You must have the patience. Then only you can be in a position to understand the regression analysis. Simple because there is only one predictor or independent variable, and linear because of the assumed linear relationship between the independent and dependent variables. Okay, good. Okay, so it is called as simple because there is only one predictor. Predictor is only one, or independent variable, and linear, it will be in a straight line. There won't be any up and downs. There won't be any up and downs. It will be linear. Because of the assumed linear relationship, assumed, we have to establish this assumed linear relationship, and that relationship must be in a linear manner, whether it may be horizontally or vertically. Okay, there should be a linear relationship between the independent and dependent variables. This is about the explanation. The term linear means that an equation of a straight line of the form y is equal to a plus bx, where a and b are the constants, is used to describe the average relationship that exists between the two variables. Yeah, when we take into account the linearity, okay, what is linearity? Linearity is nothing but y is equal to a plus bx. Here a and b are nothing but the constants, and we'll call them as the parameters. We'll call them as the parameters. And a and b, one thing, a and b will decide the linear relationship. Forget about the x, forget about the y, but a, b constants will explain about the linearity between x variable and y variable. Okay, uses of regression analysis. What are the uses, sir? Okay, why we have to take linear analysis, regression analysis? What is the usage of that? Is first thing is regression analysis provides estimates of values of the dependent variable from the values of the independent variable, whatever it may be. You can take anything. You can take x or you can take y, anything, but it will give us the relationship. That is the thing. Okay, regression analysis provides estimates of values. Estimates of values. How much is the estimate? See, what do you mean by this estimate, sir? Estimate means when we are doing anything and when we want to get something, okay, that is nothing, that something is nothing but estimate. Suppose, take for example, if you are conducting a party for 100 people, okay, you are conducting, you brought everything and you made everything ready for 100 persons. Suppose if another person comes and if he asks, sir, what will be the estimate for 500 persons? See, the estimate for 500 persons, how it will be determined basing upon the estimate, the thing that is there for 100 people. This person who are doing this, well, who are making arrangements for 100 persons, he can be in a position to tell that for 500 persons because he is doing that. So when you do this, automatically estimates can be done. And another thing is, suppose if you want to purchase any commodity, if you go to a shop and if you ask that person, what will be the price, please give me. So there he will give an estimate, but not an actual this thing. That is approximate value. Whatever it may be, the approximate value, he will give that. He won't give the correct and actual value. That is most important. Second one is, the second goal of regression analysis is to obtain a measure of the error involved in using the regression line as a basis for estimation. You see, errors will come across. Errors will come across. And we have to locate the errors. When you go for an accountancy subject, you are having a separate topic like rectification of errors, where error is a known mistake, fraud is a error is a unknown mistake, whereas fraud is a known mistake. Wantedly committed mistake is fraud. Without knowing what is going to happen, unknowingly, whatever it may be, the mistake that you have done, it is nothing but error. So errors can be rectified because we are taking two variables, mind it. We are taking two variables. So when you take one variable and when you want to estimate the values of the other variable, automatically one time or other time, you will come across some mistakes. So these mistakes can be located when we go for regression analysis, especially in the process of estimation. Especially in the process of estimation, you can be in a position to note down the errors and you can able to rectify them. Okay, with the help of regression coefficients, we can calculate the correlation coefficient. Yeah, correlation coefficient. Some people, what they'll do is they'll go for correlation analysis. Some people, they'll go for correlation analysis and they'll do that. And some people, they want to go through regression. Whether we can be in a position to find out the correlation coefficient. Okay, so this regression equation or regression analysis, it will take into account, first of all, the regression coefficients. And when we take into account the regression coefficients, then automatically you can be in a position to calculate the correlation coefficient. That is to cross-check whether our answer is correct or wrong. Now, here, the basis for regression analysis is nothing but correlation analysis. R is equal to plus or minus 1. When R is 1 plus 1, it is known as positive correlation. When R is equal to minus 1, we'll call that thing as negative correlation. And when R is equal to 0, no correlation. Okay, don't be of that opinion that don't be of that opinion that R will be 0. Don't be of that opinion that R will be a negative correlation. Okay, or positive correlation. It is 0 correlation. So thereby you cannot be in a position to know, okay, the relationship between the values. Okay, so this is about some points regarding this regression, and I'm stopping, and tomorrow I'm going to continue.